Attention parents and coaches. Do you wish you had a safe social media platform for your youth athletes? Fortunately for you, there's a revolutionary new app that helps with just that. Introducing Small Player, Big Play. Small Player Big Play app provides young athletes, parents, and coaches a user-friendly sports social media platform. The app allows users to connect with friends, make new friends, create groups, text, chat, and post pictures and videos of you and your teammates participating in your favorite sport or activity. To begin, users can simply download and sign up for the app using an email account. Younger users have the ability to sign up using their smartphone and a parent's email address. From there, users can begin to interact and engage with other users of the app. Small Player Big Play app also gives users the ability to live stream full games and events. You can live stream your event so that friends, family, or anyone in the world can see you in action. Users can also share posts from the app to their other social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter. What are you waiting for? Get in the game and share your love of sports with the world. Download the Small Player Big Play app today.
You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting across the way is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's good to be here. We were talking on Friday evening, kind of like in preparation for the game. There were plenty of moments where I wasn't sure we were ever going to get to this point. So it felt great to be there on a beautiful Friday night in the fall. Usually it takes a few weeks to get weather like we had on Friday night, running back to the car for your jacket. But, hey.
Yes, I appreciate
that.
Delayed
Delayed a few weeks, but football season is here.
It certainly felt like football weather, but the result was not something that any of us are used to.
No, that's why I completely ignored that part in my intro.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the point of the show.
I knew,
so
right, but
we have to touch on it.
Listen, me delaying the inevitable is nothing new. You know that.
Yeah, I appreciate you running back to the car for my jacket because obviously I'm not that lazy. I mean, I'll be lazy, but I'm not lazy to not walk to the car and get my jacket. It's just that I had already gone through the screening process, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to rock the boat because this is the first main run of pandemic football, as the whiteout shirts said, and that's the reality that we're in. I appreciate being admitted to the game and getting to be there and cover the event, and look forward to doing that a few more times this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously, it wasn't the Bulldogs' night. That was for sure.
And sometimes things just don't go your way, and it felt like a bunch of things just didn't go our way, and sometimes that's how it goes.
Yeah. So we are here to recap the loss to the Mifflin Mustangs in Game 1 of this 2020 season, this abbreviated 2020 season, starting weeks late. I believe we were already through, 5 weeks last year? 5 games?
Yeah, so it's really crazy because of all the years to have the delay, it happens in the year where Labor Day was as late as it could possibly be. Therefore, seasons and everything else were going to be as late as they could possibly be. So when you delay it, it seems almost like a 4-week delay instead of really 3. It's just you add in the Labor Day being a week later and everything. So
yeah,
it certainly feels off, but like you said, it's good to have football back. The result was not what we were hoping for.
No, not at all, and we'll talk about that a bit here on the program. That's kind of what we're here to do, and it's always disappointing and tough to talk about a loss.
Right? Yeah, like we talk about that. You and I talk about that a lot. Like, oh man, it's so much more fun to do the show when a win happens, and obviously that's pretty obvious. Like, no one likes to talk about their losses more than they like to talk about their wins. Like that's just not how things go, right? Now, that's not to say people don't. There's lots of people who would say they can recall their toughest losses more than a lot of their wins and things like that. But that's not what we're talking about. But to get on here and talk, after losses is not fun. And talking after a loss to Mifflin is even less fun. But,
yeah,
like you said, that's kind of the point of the show. So here we are.
Yeah, so we have to get to it, and we will. But we're also going to preview the upcoming game against Manheim Township, who I said in the little summary of the live stream are the 3-time defending Section 1 champions. Now, I know we shared that title with them in 2018, but they've beaten Wilson 3 of the last 4 meetings, including in the playoffs in 2017, ending the section winning streak in 2017. We got a little bit of revenge in 2018, beating them on their home turf that season, but they came to Gursky last year and beat us. And now we get to open section play in 2020. Both of us, spoiler, 0-1. If you didn't know, that Township lost to start their season last week against LaSalle College High School. It's a pretty significant program from the Philly Catholic League. Which,
perennial District 12 power who is in that conversation for state title runs every year. And I don't know what they changed classification some. I don't know if they're 5A.
No, they're 6A.
Okay,
They're still 6A. I think they've had like 4 straight, like around like about 8-4 seasons, but or maybe that's 4. No, I think it might have been 4 straight years they've lost to St. Joe's Prep to get kicked out of the playoffs.
Right.
I think that ends up
which is
like their
could
season
be their
ends because they lose to St. Joe's.
That could be their. Well, yeah, I don't know exactly how the playoffs, because playoffs are different down there a little bit. But yeah, like they're a perennial power and big time players and everything. So yeah, that's a heck of a first game matchup for Manheim Township as well. And they weren't. That was a late ad, correct? Like that.
In the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
Right. I mean, everything's kind of a late addition, but that was even later because I believe their District 1 their Week 1 opponent that fell through, and then they had to reschedule. So
yeah, but enough about Township for the time being. Let's get to our housekeeping, our general announcements that we do at the beginning of the show before we dive into the video from the Wilson Mifflin game. I do want to point out and thank our sponsors, the major sponsors of May's Sandwich Shop and Small Player Big Play. They had a phenomenal weekend, the streaming app. I talked to Bruce and said they did great Friday night and even better on Saturday. I know there's a handful of Berks teams taking advantage, and also other teams on the eastern part of Pennsylvania using it not only for scholastic and high school football, but for a variety of other sports as well. So if you are a spectator at an event, or you are maybe an organizer of a youth league similar to the local Van Reed, Lincoln Park area leagues, check out Small Player Big Play on the Google and Apple app stores. It's a free download on the app, and you can stream those games and possibly make money for your organization in doing so. So definitely check that out. Again, Small Player Big Play. We also want to make sure we thank our 2 anonymous donors who stepped up again to help us for the 6th season of the Bulldog Hour. And if anyone would like to support us, there's multiple ways you can do that, not just in sponsorships, advertising, and in-kind donations. Please visit the website, bulldoghour.com, and Justin's favorite activity, spreading the word.
Yeah, like and share.
Definitely do that. We post stuff often, especially on Facebook, and I do on my personal Twitter account, my coaching account, at Coach Joe Mays. So make sure you follow, like, and then anything we post, give us a retweet, give us a share. It helps us out a ton just to get the show out there. And we want to promote the team. That's what we're here for. That's why we're doing this. We want to have the kids in the program go to even higher levels.
Yeah, we enjoy doing it, but it's really it's just to have fun kind of promoting the program and the people in the program.
So after tonight's show, we'll be back again next Sunday, the 27th, same time and place, 8:30. right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter Periscope. And I hope everyone enjoyed the excellently produced game stream by Wilson Media Productions. They did a great job Friday night, and a lot of people were impressed that maybe haven't had to, they didn't need to watch the game stream before.
Right. And just kind of a shout out to that too. You and I know, like, from being there around the games for years and years, like, they usually have a significantly sized crew there to work the game. And a lot of that has to do with their, they have kids that are newer to that at school, in the club and organization, that are kind of working their way in. They were working with pretty much the bare minimum as well. At least it appeared so from where I was. And so, like, they're working with what they've got too, and it did a great job helping to get that out there to the masses.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great they do a great job, and hopefully I know they'll be back in 2 weeks. I basically asked them that when I retweeted the school post. They showed the inside of the production van, the mobile unit, which I know they've done in years past, but it was nice this time when a lot of people are wondering what's going on, who's doing this. And Karen Troutman posted the picture to the Facebook page, and I eventually retweeted that on Twitter, and it's like, okay, same time, place in 2 weeks, and they're like, we'll be there. So there you go.
Sounds good.
Confirmation that Wilson Media Productions is doing the game against Penn Manor on October 2nd. That's the next home game at Mifflin, at Gursky against Penn Manor. But anything else to add? Any of this early stuff that we need to touch on before we watch some video and talk about the Mifflin game?
No, I mean, I would just kind of like a general statement. I thought people, from what I saw, I thought people handled, the situation pretty well on Friday night. Understanding kind of what the protocols were, and I didn't necessarily experience issues with it. So hopefully others can kind of had a similar experience, and everyone like off of the field was doing what is expected of them, so that we can continue, as the saying would go, so we can continue to have nice things, right?
Right. Yeah. So let's take a look at this video. Now, this is the Houtr produced game recap. I don't think the team has any say in this. I think they grabbed some video that's been uploaded. So this may not be of the best quality. It may not be significant, and it may be only from a Wilson point of view, which means we may not see a whole ton. And we'll go into the film then and pull some things up while we talk about it. But we're gonna start that right now. If I can, hopefully this works. I know it's given us problems in your past, but so here we go. Wilson Governor Mifflin. So we're gonna start right off the bat here and take a look at Wilson's lone touchdown. It was a brilliant play. It was very well run, executed. Caleb to Troy, 39 yards.
Yeah,
everyone looked good on that.
Yeah, he had lots of time. He sat back there. He made a great read. Troy got past his defender. Great route, and the throw was on the money.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it back a few times here because it was a really, really well designed play. Caleb had time, no pressure, unleashed a nice pass to Troy, who sped through the defense for a touchdown.
Caught it on a dead run. It was off.
It was great. It was really, really well done, and tied the game 7-7 after Mifflin had seemingly taken control early on that 3-play drive, I think it was, to open the game. They received the opening kickoff. They had a run that gained them a good chunk of yardage. Then they ran a little halfback toss pass, which was like perfectly executed because we talked to defensive back coach Jamie Sands, who said the defender, who I believe was Mason, did what he was supposed to do.
He was there.
It was just a perfectly thrown ball.
It was a great throw. He hit, their running back on the run to his right set his feet and made a great throw and hit the receiver in stride, and that's pretty much how it went. Yeah. So they set it up. Nick Singleton left. Nick Singleton right. He pulls up when he runs right and throws it deep, and they connected. So
Yeah, it was
and
very
then,
well done.
Yeah, and then they were able to put it in the end zone on the next play.
Now, as you can see, if you're watching the show, this is there's no more other scoring highlights for the Bulldogs since we only scored the one touchdown, and this is all from the Wilson point of view. So we're just seeing plays that produced chunks of yardage here. We're not seeing anything from the Mifflin side. So I'll see if I can throw up some of those plays. But there you get the final score graphic, and you can see the yardage. Not kind to the Bulldogs, but when you lose by the score of 48-7,
Right.
it's not going to be in your favor. Wilson didn't even throw for 100 yards passing, only rushed for 36 yards. Mifflin 358, with 255 of those coming on the ground. Now, obviously, most of those passing yards, I think, probably were in that halfback pass. Had to be, a good 35, 40?
Yeah.
Not quite half, I would say.
Right.
Was just on that one pass, but they didn't need to throw the ball. The ground game was getting it done.
Well, and I felt like, and again, I don't have this like ironed out, but I felt like there were a lot of 1 yard run, 2 yard run, 11-yard run. You know what I mean? Like there were, I shouldn't say a lot, but there were too many of those where it's like bottled up. 10 yards, bottled up 9. So like you have them in 3rd and 8 and they get 9, or stuff like that. It's tough, and they were able to when Singleton would get outside, and I don't really know, but basically like 28, 29, and they would do that toss, and he would catch it 5 yards deep, but he's fast, so he's going to be outside, and when he's hitting the line like at full speed running straight while everyone's still trying to get out there,
no one's catching him.
I made it a couple weeks in a row without hitting stuff over here, but
knock over my
no, I just I hit my phone up, which was weird. But you know what I mean? Like when you're running laterally to try and get out there and cut off the angle, and you've got him running vertically, it's not a good mix for almost no one. That's not a good matchup for anybody. And and that kind of happened. I noticed there were a lot of times where I thought, you'd have him and then he'd get another 2 yards, and while that isn't necessarily a game-changing moment on the majority of plays, that adds up over the course of a game.
Right.
And I think that is one of those things too that just, you hit him at 2 yards and it ends up being a 4-yard run or things like that. Now some of that's credit to him, like he runs hard. But yeah, like putting successful plays together on both sides of the ball was something that Wilson struggled with. Like I said, we'd have, it kind of felt like 1 step forward, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So you're kind of just starting all over again, and so it was just kind of felt like an uphill battle the majority of the night.
Well, that old football cliche of the game's won in the trenches, and that's where it was. And we saw that last year when we couldn't do anything wrong,
right?
Like in any facet of the game. When you're up 61-0 in early mid 3rd quarter, like you obviously have been executing perfectly in every phase of the game.
Right. It was as close to a perfect game as you could probably get in a high school game.
And you flip to this year, and it was the exact opposite. Wilson couldn't do anything on offense or defense. Special teams were okay. There weren't any real significant miscues. They had a nice long return. I've got to be honest.
I was a little surprised at the Mifflin kickoff strategy, but it did not appear to be something that they came up with out of nowhere, because that kid could kick that squib kick to that corner, which that's incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
But so they had that down, and they were not going to let a long return beat them. And the one time they kicked it deep when it could,
Mason returned it all the way to like the 15 or whatever.
Exactly. So
so they were doing it on purpose, obviously, and they would have taken it if we would have gotten started the 40 if they had the if it had gone out of bounds. I think they would have been okay with that, because
they were
40 is not their 15.
Right, they were clearly prepared for that. So if one of them goes out and it's at the 40, they'll take that over the others being at the 20, and some being maybe at the 25 or some being at the 15. So yeah, they executed that part. But I thought we did well on special teams. But
That was one of the silver linings for sure. We got to eventually see, we saw Jack Wagner kick an extra point, which was good. We eventually saw him punt the ball a lot of distance, a lot of power.
yeah,
And he said, he's like, the one time I got it deep, I didn't want to because it rolled out of the end
Right.
zone. And obviously you don't want them to start at the 20. You want them to start inside the 10. I just had a little too much, and the roll did not help him. But he looks good.
all things considered, though, I feel like at this is me speaking at that point in the game, because he was in there because Caleb was out,
Right.
and Singleton was back to return the punt. Punting it out the back of the end zone is not the worst
thing
case
to do,
scenario.
no.
It's not the best scenario. It's far from the worst.
So besides not playing well in the trenches, both offensively or defensively, a few other issues were present. One of them is on the screen right now. As you can see, third down conversions. Mifflin, 50%, 5 out of 10. Wilson, 1 out of 10.
Yeah. And was that one the touchdown? Was that a third down?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was. I think that was the only conversion. Turnovers.
So that could have been our first third down.
No, that wasn't our first
Okay.
series with the ball.
Okay. I couldn't.
I don't. No, because they. No, was it?
I thought it was.
I thought it was our second, but maybe
So I thought it was our first because then I could be remembering. Then they drove. We stopped them, but we couldn't get off the goal line and punt. And basically, it was like exchanging, and they took over at the 30 then. So it was like they got the first down.
Right.
I could have that mixed up, though.
Anyway,
I've tried to block parts of these things out of my mind already.
1
so.
for 10 on third down's not going to get it done.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter which one that one was, but
neither is 3 turnovers. Like,
yeah.
If you can't block or tackle in the trenches, you can't convert on third down to stay on the field, and you turn the ball over 3 times, you're going to have a rough day.
But any one of those can lead to a rough day.
When all of them happen, yeah, it's going to be a long night, and that's exactly what it was for the Bulldogs. And I hate to say it, but that was the most points that a Governor Mifflin team has ever scored against Wilson.
Yeah.
It beats their previous record of 47 set back in the playoffs in 2006. That was the year Mifflin beat us twice.
Yeah, I was in Puerto Rico for that one. You would think that would be.
I actually was home for that one.
you would think that would be a win, right? Except, guess where my roommate in Puerto Rico went to high school? Governor Mifflin. So, yeah, I heard about that one too.
Yeah, not great stuff.
Yeah, you would think that at like 1,700 miles, almost 2,000 miles would be enough to get away from that. It was not.
Yeah, so, I was consulting my official Wilson Mifflin info here, which is this T-shirt that I had made. It's one of a kind, but it has all the scores on the back of it. It's not actually the most points the team has scored if you include their years as Shillington. So I know when Paul and Mike Drago from the Red and Eagle, when they do it, they only include the Mifflin years, which started in 1954.
Right.
So they ignore the first 8 games between Wilson and Shillington when they talk about how many times the teams have played one another. They don't include those. But if you include those in the rivalry, Shillington scored 52 points in 1951. And since then, they have scored 40 or more points just a handful of times. They don't, honestly, since 1967, they don't have a ton of wins against us. So, we have that going for us. That's a positive.
In the big picture, that's great. Doesn't really help you feel a whole lot better.
No, it doesn't feel great right now. 2020, not off to a roaring start.
Never mind.
This clearly the worst thing that's happened so far in 2020, right?
So I was gonna make a Cowboys joke at the expense of your dad, but realized that's our other show.
Well, I thought I had seen the best kicking from the Mifflin kicker this weekend when he was hitting those. Right,
when you're talking about kicks on the ground.
And then I see the Cowboys onside kick today, and I'm just like, wow, that was impressive.
Right, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, so Wilson only scoring 7 points. I'm trying to look here now. We scored 14 in 2017. So, it's we usually score more points than 7, but I don't know. It is what it is.
Exactly.
It happens. You're not going to beat him every year.
Well, and don't get me wrong. They took it to us like that. There's no getting around that. But it was a competitive game for a while.
Let's focus on that. Let's focus on the first half.
Right.
So it looked really bad initially.
Yeah, first 3 plays.
They scored in 3 plays, and you're like, well, that's not great.
Right.
This could be a long night.
Less than ideal.
Yeah, and then, like Justin and I already said, we're not sure if they stopped us, we stopped them, then we scored, or if we scored initially. But like it went back and forth, and by the end of the first quarter, it was 7-7. And I wouldn't say that we were feeling great, but we were like, all right, we're in this. We saw what they're going to give us. We've adjusted or we've settled down. But the offense couldn't really get anything going. We weren't getting any drives.
Well, like I believe it was that second drive where we were pinned inside the 5, and then there was a fumbled exchange on first down, maybe. And so, like, instead of, at worst being 2nd and 10 from the 5, it's like 2nd and 13 from the 2. And it's just like, well, if it just got a lot harder, and then we end up not getting the first down, which again you're in a tough spot, but you have to punt, and then they get the ball at like the 30 or 35, which is a tough spot to be in. Because they had just kind of driven and the defense got the stop. Mifflin did that kind of quick kick type thing that they did, that I believe they did a couple times. But it was a tough. It was kind of tough to get going, and then you're down, and we're never really. We had some chances to kind of climb back and kind of get there, but then just things didn't work out that way. So
yeah. So right before the end of the half, Mifflin scored to what was 21-7 at that point. Then
right.
Yeah, because they had scored the second touchdown on the short field that you had just talked about. 13-7, they missed the extra point. You think, okay, that's good. We can
right,
with
like
that.
that could be big because I'm confident that we're going to make our extra points.
Yes.
Unless they block one, I'm confident Jack's making it.
Absolutely. And nothing happens. They drive down to score. They get the 2-point conversion, it's 21-7. You're like, oh, they scored right before half.
Right. But
this
I'm like,
great.
But if we can get to half, we
get the ball
to start the second half, so you can climb right back in it.
Well, then Mason's able to field the kick,
right?
And he does what Mason did so often last year, is he has a huge return.
Right.
He isn't quite able to get into the end zone, which sucks.
Right.
But he also gets injured on the play, which just compounded the issue.
Right.
And he doesn't play the rest of the game. But we've got the ball, like I said, around the 15-yard line. And get down to about the, 3-ish? Right?
Yeah, I was thinking like, I was in that area.
And we're actually aided by a Mifflin offsides at one point. But it was really weird. We don't want to have to use a timeout. People are running around, not set. It was a little disorganized.
Right.
I don't know if all the players quite understood how much time was left and the clock was running. There wasn't really a sense of urgency, which was odd to see.
Right.
They have to use a timeout. Their last timeout then, with what, about 9 seconds left or something like that, 13 seconds.
I thought it was 13.
Yeah. They run a play, but it's a run with no timeouts left. You think they're not going to get another. I
thought they weren't.
I was like, well, that's it. They're not going to another play. Well, they managed somehow to line up, not be offsides, have proper number of people on the line. No one's moving and snapped with a hair before the clock hit 0.
Right.
They throw a pass into the end zone, and I should probably pull this up because I'd like to see it, because from where I was standing, which was directly under the field goal post, the Mifflin defender was holding onto Troy's waist and not letting him run into the end zone, and the ball was just thrown a little bit farther than Troy's fingertips.
Right.
The ref was standing right there, did that reach for your flag, but then not throw it motion. And I was like, you've got to be kidding. How can that happen?
So I have to admit, that's one of those where I thought that our receiver was getting held, but to be honest, I was watching through the iPad screen, so that's one of those that it's hard for me to see that on the screen from that far in real time. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
so I thought that, but I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. I don't know if the camera will have caught it properly or not. So let's take it from here because I believe this is gonna be Mason's return, so we can watch that and we can watch the series of events play out. Modern technology, beautiful.
There we go.
So here's the kickoff from Mifflin after they went up 21-7. He gets the kick down the line. Oh, no, that's not the one. Sorry. I'll have to go a little bit deeper. Must be the next one. Here we go. Yeah, there's the 2-point play. Okay. So here is the proper one. Let's open that up. All right, so here's the kick. This one goes much closer to the numbers. It's fielded by Mason, and he is off. Really good blocking. Really, really good job by the kickoff return team, and he's taken down just outside the 15. And that's where the Wilson offense is going to take over. Here we get the end zone camera view, which is still not properly focused. Yeah, the focus is off. But we appreciate former player Nick Johnson.
Yeah, working the end zone camera.
Filming from the end zone camera this year. So so Mason sets up the Wilson offense at the 16, and we'll get a series of plays here. First is I believe a designed run from Caleb as he stepped back to pass briefly and then runs the ball up the middle for a pretty significant game. It was a good play, good execution. They moved from about the 17-yard line here. He gets down to about the 9 or so. Okay. So you pick up 7-8 yards on first down.
Get about halfway there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're about the 8-yard line. They jump off sides. We get to move even closer to the goal line. Nice. So this is great. First down as well. Now downs aren't going to play much of a importance here because we're limited clock. Not a lot of time. This is taking forever to. That's taking forever to. Buffer, yeah, or to move properly. So we're gonna try to advance it. Here we go. Let's try that. And the running play is stopped inside. Timeout is taken, which that was the final timeout. They're at about the 3 or 4 yard line. And it was a run to Jaden Jones, who just can't make the third or fourth tackler miss, and he gets taken down around the 4 yard line. And then you get a play that looks like a designed run to Caleb, and he gets stood up at the 2. And this is when they're trying to get everyone to line up to run another play. They eventually get on the line, and they will snap the ball after we see this end zone shot of Caleb's run, which looks like a designed run. The way he drops back and immediately pulls it down to run, it didn't look like he was giving it a chance to throw the ball. So here we go. They're set up for the next play, and the play happens, and he lofts it. It's just out of the reach of Troy. The camera wasn't over far enough to see. Oh, that's unfortunate. I was hoping to see from that end zone you could clearly see him hold. I mean, he had both his hands on his waist. So no, unfortunately, that's not there. But Wilson didn't get any points before half.
Right.
To keep the score 21-7, and it's just deflating. You get that great play from Mason, the great return. You move the ball closer and closer to the end zone. You get a little bit lucky being able to get that last play off, but you're not able to convert. You don't get the score, because just think about how things could have been different. 21-14 at half, and you get the ball. Right. Now, do I think anything's going to change drastically? I think in the end they wore us down anyways.
I think the final score would have been different, but I think
I think it may have been closer.
It's hard to argue
sure.
the way that game went. It's hard to argue that it would have changed the final out. But
right.
The end, the only result that mattered.
Right.
I don't know that.
It doesn't matter
that
if you
changed.
win by 1 or 41.
Right.
The win is a win. Do I think converting before half would have meant Wilson would have won? I don't think anyone is willing to say that.
I can't say that based on the evidence that I have.
Right.
But you never know, and I would like to find out, but that's just not how it works. So, but like you said, I think, and I know in one of the posts you put up, like looking for silver linings.
Yes.
One of the silver linings that I'm going to put out there, and I know, like, don't get me wrong, like we've played some Mifflin teams over the last decade or so that have been phenomenal, right? Like we played some great teams. With some stud athletes, Jan Johnson, who goes on to be he was a captain his last year up at Penn State, I think. Like, just you played some teams that would just have incredible athletes, and they have incredible athletes there right now. So it just kind of to be able to battle, early on, and despite things not going your way, like despite them scoring on their first 3 plays,
right?
That's not what I meant. Taking 3 plays to score.
Yeah, I understand what you're
despite saying. Getting pinned back on your second possession and giving them the short field, despite some of those things, despite not being able to get a big play, in the return game until right before half. Like they were battling and they're right there, and then things just kind of fell apart in lots of ways. Some of the key guys. Like you said, Mason went out after the kick return. Caleb ends up going out.
In the third quarter.
Right. Jaden, I think, ends up going out at some point.
Right. He didn't return. Ethan Ashcroft went out with a knee injury.
Troy went out.
With a variety of ailments.
So, like, it just is one of those things where you were fighting an uphill battle already, and then your most experienced guys that you would rely on in that time aren't able to be in there at that point. And that happens. That's part of football too, but it makes it an even tougher fight. That's just, it's unfortunate. Like we said earlier, it's hard when any of those things happen, to kind of win a game when you start losing guys too, that you can throw that in there, and that makes it hard, and just wasn't going to happen on Friday night.
Let's get to our player of the game. There were a few people that we tossed back and forth of who we want to give it to. A couple defensive standouts. Gavin Leonard, a junior linebacker,
had some big plays.
8 tackles. Adrian Santana as well from linebacker. Those 2 inside guys saw a lot of action against Mifflin, which makes a lot of sense. Troy, obviously, scoring the touchdown, being all over the place on defense. He's always going to probably be in the running for this award. But we thought the main defensive standout, the one who led the team in tackles, and the guy that doesn't get a lot of credit because of the position he plays, it's not very flashy. But when you lead the team in tackles against the run-oriented team, it's probably a good bet that you were playing pretty well.
Yeah.
And he was one that at times you could tell was disruptive and really doing what he was supposed to. And that is senior defensive tackle Jeff Colson, who blew through the line in that first half a couple times, stopping the Mifflin offense and really throwing their running backs for a loss on a couple of occasions. Like I said, he had 9 tackles overall, and we think because of the impact he made and his efforts from Friday night, Jeff is our player of the game for the loss to Mifflin.
Yeah. So, like we kind of mentioned, there were moments of things clicking. That long play to Troy, some of the defensive plays. There were moments of, all right, this is what you want to see. There just we weren't able to string enough of those together on Friday night. Mifflin was, and that pretty much writes the story, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have a ton else to say about Mifflin. No. Obviously, they're a very, very
sometimes,
good team.
Right. Sometimes you just take it on the chin and you got to move on.
Yeah. So. It'll be interesting to see how far they go, what they're able to do the rest of the year. I think most people expected Wilson to be their toughest test.
Yeah,
I think
I don't.
They play CD East this week before their Berks games
So
start.
so we'll count that as an unknown because
because
CD
I
East is
don't know what to
always an
expect
unknown.
from CD East.
Again, typically, and like we've said about Mifflin in the last few years has had some bumpy starts, but always puts it together and makes a deep run. CD East has typically followed a similar path in the sense that early in the season they may get knocked off or so, but come the end of the season, nobody really wants to play them. So I think that could be an interesting game, but I don't see a Berks League team taking it. I mean, Mifflin doesn't really lose to many Berks teams ever
there was
anyway.
Something ridiculous like
I think
I
thought it was like 58-2 in their last 60 or something like that.
2 or something
Right.
like that. They've only lost to Exeter with Mennett as a senior in 2015, and Conrad Weiser 2 years ago, right when Weiser won the section on that victory over Mifflin.
Right.
Those are their only 2 losses in essentially the last decade of Berks football.
Which is kind of absurd when you look at the Wilson-Mifflin rivalry and the run that those two teams have been on in the last 15 years in their respective divisions. Which is crazy because they used to be in the same section of Lancaster 11 League football.
Yeah. And so close to being that way.
Yeah, it's very close.
In
close.
a few years.
Yeah.
But not to start. Maybe in 2024, but not to start in 2022. And we'll mention that here. That was approved, before we knew it was happening. They approved the section alignment. Wilson will be in the top section, which we knew, but Mifflin is in the second section.
I think I was a little surprised. Did they have us as the third biggest school? I think
behind Reading and Hempfield. Probably?
I think Reading and Hempfield are the biggest, and I think we are third, and I think Township is fourth.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Again, that may be based on the male enrollment figures,
that's what
but
it is.
Generally speaking, there are a couple outliers. Those are pretty darn close to total enrollment figures. Like, there aren't many schools where there's a drastic change. Now, when you're talking big numbers, 1 or 2% can be a number of kids. So, I think I saw the one graphic I saw before I saw yours. It was like the helmet graphic, and it was just by straight like enrollment numbers, and that's how it was set up. So,
so that starts in 2022. The Lancaster Lebanon League will be welcoming the remaining Berks County teams into the league or back into the league in the case of Reading, Mifflin, and Muhlenberg. Wilson will get to play Reading.
I didn't realize Muhlenberg used to be in. I did not realize that.
One to leave.
See, I did not. Well, and that would make sense as to why I was unaware of that.
Apparently, Berks Catholic does not have a game now this week. I don't know if something changed or what. They had been adding games left and right.
Right. Well, because they had like 3 or 4 openings, and they were adding them in.
Apparently, they need a opponent for this week.
Okay.
Willing to host or travel Thursday, Friday, or Saturday.
All right.
So hopefully, they can find a game.
So, just real quick, while we're tangentially on the topic, shout out to Columbia this week
there you go.
for their big win. It was not a great football weekend for me, rooting interest wise. However, Columbia coming up with the huge win, and improbable at times. And I can't tell you the last time they beat Lancaster Catholic. So shout out to them. I have the shirt on today.
You got the Roll Tide shirt on,
That's right.
ready to go.
I
Congratulations,
was
Columbia.
Excited. Yeah.
Your former home, a long time ago now.
Decades, literally 2 decades.
Yeah.
So,
we always talk about them on Friday nights. You and I we're driving back together, especially the road games.
And I'm always asking, I'm looking up how Columbia did.
How did Columbia do?
Anytime we get to talk to Andy, we talk about Columbia football, and then we start talking about Columbia basketball. And
because I feel like. And I don't mean this in terms of success. I mean this in terms of numbers. They're like Kutztown for Berks.
Yeah.
Columbia is for LL.
Yeah.
Because of their size, they're so tiny.
And in that new alignment, they will be the smallest LL Berks school.
And they're down in Section 5.
For football. I believe they're bigger than Antietam. Antietam does not have a football team.
Antietam doesn't have football. Right. And this is football only. merger for
correct,
Lancaster
yes.
11 and Berks is football only. The Berks teams are associates, so they're not changing the name. It's not the Lancaster 11 and Berks League. It is just the Lancaster 11 League with all the Berks teams. 37 teams.
Which is what you can do when you're the team that's like, yeah, join us.
Yeah,
you know,
come here and play with us. So I know there's some teams in the LLs not looking forward to it, and probably some in Berks that aren't looking forward to it either. I think it's awesome.
I'm super excited. We were pitching this idea years ago.
We're just like, hey, let's get together. Let's do this. I like playing Reading. Now, Reading's been having issues over the last decade, not very strong, just like McCaskey. But it's nice to play those local teams that you don't get. So now we're going to play Mifflin and Well, Mifflin will stay a non-league game, but we're still going to be playing them.
Right.
We're playing Reading. We were supposed to play Exeter this year and are playing them, as far as I know, next year. It'd be fun to keep those teams on the schedule.
It'll be a lot of fun.
I don't know what'll happen with the crossover games. I assume those would probably go away. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
If they don't, the Mifflin one would be an ideal
great
one.
Opportunity to
or
make it
or Exeter. You know, like they could kind of, if they gave us Exeter as the crossover and Mifflin was a non-league, that would be. Then you're only looking for one more game or two. Like I don't really remember the numbers, but
I think there's 7 teams.
So they'd still be looking for 2 more games.
So you have 6 section games, 4 non-league. If there's a crossover that's given to you, you'd be looking for 3. If Mifflin's not that, well, it'll be interesting to see what comes up, but that won't be.
And I know there's a lot that goes right. There's a lot that goes into the schedules, and there's going to be. There's going to be changes to next year's schedules. I'm not saying for Wilson in general, but like teams in general, there's going to be some rearranging of schedules for next year too, because of those like 2-year deals that teams like to work out. And this year that kind of got thrown all away.
Yeah.
So,
well, we've mentioned them a couple of times now, but congratulations to Exeter holding off Hempfield in overtime.
Yeah.
Burke School, we've talked about, supposed to play them, but also former Wilson assistant George Ager is the Hempfield coach.
And I think it was Friday afternoon. I believe it was before the game where Paul Roberts sent out saying I know some people are sleeping on Exeter because they lost so many of their big name guys from last year, other key contributors. But he's like, they have a lot returning.
They have a ton back, so I'm not really that surprised.
No, I'm not surprised.
That they were able to win in overtime.
They've really kind of turned the tide. They've changed the culture over there. They expect to win. And that's key, because you think now, I say it wasn't that long ago. It was that long ago now. It was probably a decade ago, but it doesn't feel that long ago when Exeter had a couple years where they were struggling to get a win, and then they turned the tide. And I know they've built up the youth program over there and stuff too. That's kind of what you need. You need that. Success helps breed that though. Again, in the idea of it's good for Berks football, it's good for high school football when you have good local teams. And so,
speaking of success breeding a program into major power, let's talk about next week's opponent.
Yeah.
Manheim Township, the Blue Streaks. When Mark Evans took over, in 2012? Was that his first season?
I honestly don't remember.
It was close to a decade ago, because I believe this is his 9th season as head coach there. They weren't terrible. They weren't a bottom dweller, but they were an average team, a middling team.
Right.
They would, you get a good year from them every so often, every 5 or 6 years, but it wasn't consistent.
Right. I would have put them behind, at the time, they were kind of behind Wilson and Penn Manor.
Right. Yeah. When he first got there.
Right. Yes. When he first got there.
Yep. They're getting better each year. I think the first time, so they were supposed to be a team to contend with Wilson in 2015. I remember we went there and it was not the case.
No.
Wilson beat up on them pretty good. Then next year was, I think, the year that people started to take notice.
Yeah.
It was at our place.
Yeah.
It was a 2016 team, which we beat Township that year, but it took a final minute touchdown run by Connor Urig to give Wilson that victory. And I remember after the game, you and I are standing there talking to Coach Doms, and he says, he points, he's like, that whole team is back next year. I think they returned 10 out of 11 on both sides of the ball or something, and we were like, well, we're in for a battle in 2017, and we know how that happened. And that was the year that the Streaks broke through.
Yep.
And ever since then, Wilson has been playing catch up. Now, I said we caught them in 2018, but we weren't able
Right,
to
we
seal
had
the deal the
right
next
because
week.
we had the little round robin losses with Warwick.
Right.
Yeah,
But Township now sits on top for the last 3 years,
and are in that position that people had talked about for Wilson for so long, where they just always have that next group stepping in, and while they have significant losses each year, it can be misleading because we hear that at Wilson we've heard that a lot too through the years, but a lot of that is because guys sometimes they have to earn it when they're a senior, because the senior group, the senior group ahead of you is strong, and then there's not necessarily that many spots that you're just going to take away, and then next thing you know, your senior group's up, maybe a little unproven, but they also step up, and that's what I feel like we've seen at Township the last few years. They kind of just have that next group is stepping in, and the next group steps in, and so I know it didn't go the way they wanted in week one, but there's no shame in that when you're playing a power team, and I believe I did not consume a lot of articles about high school football this weekend.
Well, it was 35-27.
I read one, and it was the Columbia Lancaster Catholic recap.
Bro, that's the one that mattered for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so...
But I didn't even find out about it till Saturday afternoon because I didn't even check scores. But, yeah, like they were down, I believe, 28-7 or 27-7 or something like that at halftime. That was
it was 28-6 at halftime.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so they fought back.
Well, they went to what they know best, a passing touchdown to Anthony Ivy. Evan Clark is their new quarterback.
Okay.
He hit Ivy, who did a lot of work and got a 53-yard score. Then once the defense got on the field, when LaSalle took over, they got a pick six from Chris Negron.
All right, so that changes things in a hurry.
Immediately you get 14 points there to cut things back. So they took advantage of some things, big plays and turnovers, but that's what good teams do to win or to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to catch LaSalle, who had to travel to their place, that Manheim Township, but they're not going to be an easy out. And it was supposed to be Wilson. Manheim Township was one of those teams is going to win the section. And I would think after the first week, that's probably accurate.
Right.
I'm not going to count Hempfield out.
No.
But they lost to Exeter. Cedar Crest got destroyed by Manheim Central. I don't know what Penn Manor did. Do you know what Penn Manor did? I know McCaskey lost big time in their game. So I don't know what happened with Penn Manor, but everyone kind of assumed it was Wilson Manheim Township again, even with the graduation losses.
Right.
I would still think that's the case, but we'll find out in 5 days?
Yeah.
5 days to figure out who's going to win the section.
Right.
At least that's the way it looks.
Well, who's in the driver's seat?
Right?
Yeah.
Who's in the driver's seat? Who controls their destiny? The second week of the season because of this weird year. Yeah. So, I mean, we previewed the team last week, so there's not much new to say about it. Cade Clancy, Evan Clark, Anthony Ivy, they're their big three on offense this year. Clark, the quarterback, Ivy, the receiver, and Clancy, the running back, who also splits time with Alberto and Torres in the backfield. But, they're to that point where they just are reloading. It doesn't matter that they lost 21 starters from a year ago from a team that was, 11-2 or whatever they were, 12-1.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
And went to double overtime against Central Dauphin, who ended up playing for the state championship or state semifinal?
Who beat Harrisburg the next week to win the districts, and then beat Coatesville to go to the state championship, where they ultimately fell. Probably to St. Joe's Prep, I would assume.
I think so, yeah.
So,
again, talking no shame losing games.
Really.
District 12 schools.
So,
yeah, Wilson's gonna have their work cut out for him, and like you said, it is one of those where Coach Dom says it every year. Looking at kind of early in the season, it's always kind of tough to tell what you've got. You hope to see those improvements from game to game. Sometimes those improvements can be big from one week to the next. As disappointing as Friday night was, and you could see the kids were disappointed after the game. Not just that they lost, but I think about how the game kind of got away from them a bit. And just, like I felt like there are a lot of kids who felt like they would have liked to give it a better shot. You know what I mean?
Kept
like
it closer and had
right,
a chance.
Right. Like, it's a bit defeating to know like they took it to you. However, right, and it's okay to feel like that, but like that needs to be gone Friday night and then like Saturday morning, and you need to kind of focus on exactly what needs to be done this week to be prepared as you can be for Friday night. Like the Mifflin game's over. If you had won, that doesn't mean anything going into the next week.
Right.
When you lose, it doesn't mean anything going into the next week. Like you need to move on. And we know they were preparing tonight, to like in terms of game plans and all those things, and let's get ready to go. Like let's hit the ground running tomorrow, and do everything we can to be as prepared as we can be for Friday night, and go out and try and get that bad taste out of your mouth, and come back and get the job done Friday. Like that's got to be your focus. You don't have to worry about any of the other games. You don't have to worry about last Friday's game. You don't have to worry about 2 weeks from now. You don't have to worry about anything. Worry about going out and doing your job on Friday night against Township.
Yep, sometimes that early loss can refocus and get you ready, be more disciplined, more determined. Sometimes that can help. So hopefully no one gives up. Everyone's ready to roll.
Right.
There's still 6 games left.
Right.
If they want to make the playoffs, they have to win almost all of them, if not all of them. And that's always the goal.
Right. If they win the rest of them, I'm confident.
Oh yeah, obviously.
It
starts this week. Like this is it.
Right.
You can't give up.
If you lose another,
ready to go.
It'll be tough to say. Like it'll be tough to say. But yeah, like again, that's kind of big picture end of the thing. Like take care of your business this week, and then that starts to hopefully get a little more clear. So
yeah,
we'll see.
All right. Before we go, let's take one last listen to an advertisement from our sponsor, Small Player, Big Play.
For using Small Player, Big Play app, the all-sports social media app for young athletes. Live stream events for your friends and family who can't be there. At home or at work, they can watch your streaming on their phones or on TV by using a mirroring device or AirPlay 2. Download the app from the App Store or Google Play and create an account using a valid email address. That's it. Now you can find friends, join groups, or make new ones. You can upload and watch your own content for free. Watch YouTube uploads for free. Even more streaming options are available with our subscription plans and in-app purchases. Download the app and start sharing with the world your passion for sports today.
All right, so thanks again to our sponsors, May Sandwich Shop, Small Player, Big Play, and our 2 anonymous donors. Justin, anything else to say before we wrap up episode 6?
I am sure that you will be sending out the information later in the week. But I believe on the Wilson Wilson School District Athletics Department site, I think if you navigate to football on there, somewhere on there, I believe there is the information or a link to the YouTube site where I believe Manheim Township will be streaming the game from that site.
Yes, good. That is a good
I
thing to point
I
out.
am sure you will send information out later in the week. But
I have all that stuff coming on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to let everyone know what's going on. But Justin did find that. This is on the athletics site on the main Wilson site, not the Wilson Athletics site. If that's
so if you go to wilsonsd.org and go to departments, I believe, in athletics,
and then you have to click on fall sports,
and then
football, and then there's a link there. It says live stream links for away games in 2020, and it lists Manheim Township and McCaskey. The Manheim Township one is going to be on YouTube, so that one will be free. That does not cost anything, just like this past week. So you should be good to go there. I'll actually can pull this up here for everyone to see what we're talking about. There is the website. As you can see, live stream links for away games in 2020. There's the Manheim Township one, and you can click on that, and it will pull up the Manheim Township YouTube page where the game will be. They already have the event scheduled, so you can set a reminder.
There you go.
Right
and
there.
Also, like for the YouTube, if you have a smart TV or you have some kind of like streaming device that allows you to connect to your TV, you can then you can watch that through YouTube on your television.
Right.
So I know some people are like, obviously, some people are probably like, wait, what?
Wait, what?
You know,
Yeah.
right?
You
So-
do not have to sit at your computer. If
Right.
you have a smart TV or if you have a streaming stick, Apple TV, Roku, Google, Amazon Fire,
Right.
all of those, I believe, have access to the YouTube app.
Yeah.
Just download it onto the streaming stick or your smart TV, put in your YouTube credentials, or if you don't even have to sign in.
You probably don't have to, but it's easier if you do, especially if you like set a reminder for that, because then it'll be linked to your account.
But there you go.
Yeah.
Manheim Township already has it up there and ready to roll Friday, September 25th, 7 o'clock from Manheim. I do not believe they are letting anyone in at all. I've heard that they may not even be letting media in. It's a good thing Justin and I are going to film the game for the team. We will be there in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's a good reminder from Justin. But I will be sending that out this week and make sure that everyone knows you can watch the game at Manheim Township online on the wonders of technology and the internet.
Hey, it like may not be the ideal situation, but it's
better than nothing. It's
Right.
better than relying on maybe tweets or me on the sideline with an iPad.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
silver linings, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, all right, that about does it for episode 7 of the Bulldog Hour 6th season. We hope you'll stick with us the rest of the way, and good luck to the Wilson football team this week as they prepare for the game at Manheim Township this Friday, game 2 of the abbreviated 2020 season. That's it for us, but until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.